What's up, fellas? I'm back with another video. With all the buzz surrounding DC fandom, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and many other future DCEU projects to come into existence, I thought this would be a really fun time to talk about what my own version of the DCEU would be like if I were at the helm, if I were Zack Snyder. The first thing I would do that Warner Brothers had inevitably failed to do is get real comic book developers like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini to run the DC Extended Universe. I say inevitably because Warner Brothers seems to have this weird fetish thing of only wanting to get Hollywood directors like J.J. Abrams to run this franchise instead of real comic book developers who actually know and understand the product very well and really wants to establish these characters. And let me just say real quick that I like Zack Snyder. He's an extraordinary, talented director who has a spectacular creative vision for what looks awesome. But I honestly feel as though that he's not exactly the best reliable source to run a franchise like the DC Universe. This is because I feel like his Batman is only interesting from a casual fan perspective. And that's an issue that I honestly have with some of the other characters in the DC Extended Universe. Like, for example, I wasn't a fan of Zack Snyder's Flash. Ezra Miller does not look like Barry Allen, not even close. Like, seriously, he makes Grant Gustin look like his father almost. That's how incredibly young he is. And while I can understand why Barry Allen was added into the DCU, I honestly would have preferred if Zack Snyder had just went the Wally West route and gave us Wally West's Flash on screen. I think it would have made a lot more sense since Zack Snyder has Cyborg, a former member of the Teen Titans, playing a big role in the DCEU as a fellow member of the Justice League. And yeah, of course I know that Barry Allen is the most popular Flash out there, but you can establish Wally West in the same light as Barry Allen in the DCEU and nothing would really change. Because as far as I know, in many DC adaptations like Young Justice, Wally West has proven numerous times that he is a loyal asset to the Justice League, and that he is capable of fulfilling Barry Allen's role as the Flash. So therefore, I firmly believe that Wally West should have been the default Flash of the DCU instead of Barry Allen. I firmly believe that it would have made for a more immersive DC Extended Universe as opposed to it all just being another Barry Allen showcase. I know it's his vision, and I don't mean to shit all over his vision. I just personally don't agree with how the way he goes about establishing the Flash and Batman in the DC Extended Universe. Because, there is this thing called character accuracy that I care about a lot, not just with the Flash and Batman, but with pretty much every other DC character. I'm all for originality and nuance, but not if that means leaving out some of the most interesting things about the character that could actually work well in film. Also, I didn't really like Zachary Levi as Shazam, but we'll get to that later. However, on the flip side, I do like Zack Snyder's version of Superman. Mainly because I don't really care about the Boy Scout version of Superman. I personally find that version of Superman to be very run-of-the-mill and boring. Even though I know some people actually like and appreciate that version of Superman a lot more, I personally think the more humanized, realistic version of Superman is more impactful and should definitely be given more screen time in Man of Steel 2. To which I would actually have air right after Man of Steel, and I would actually have Man of Steel 2 serve as a setup for Batman. Also, Henry Cavill is fantastic in the role of Superman, to the point where I'm not sure if I could really imagine anyone else playing this role, except Brandon Routh. He's a fantastic choice as well. Plus, Man of Steel is a really great movie. I don't know why people had an issue with Superman fighting Zod towards the end. I don't know why people say that the destruction towards the end of the movie villainizes Superman's character. If anything, it pretty much builds on the idea that Superman needs to stop Zod, and that Zod is a monster. Plus, the movie even makes it abundantly clear that Zod wants Superman dead, and that he views him as nothing but a mistake. So yeah, because of that, I would actually let Zack Snyder do his thing with Man of Steel. But in terms of the other movies, like Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Justice League that all go in a direction quite parallel to Man of Steel, I would get Bruce Timm and Paul Dini to run the DCEU as producers of each movie going forward. I think their direction of the DCU would actually appeal to an even bigger audience and wouldn't really divide the fans as much. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is properly establish the DC Extended Universe by having Superman go from being a fallible hero to the hero that we all traditionally know in Man of Steel 2. And that's where I would have Bruce Timm come in as producer, to properly establish him as the first superpowered hero. Then at the end of the film, I would have a Batman teaser, which would set up Batman. Then after Man of Steel 2, I would make a world's finest film, which would not only establish Batman, but would also have Lex Luthor, source material Lex Luthor, and Joker in it as the villains. And instead of having Wonder Woman make her debut in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, I would actually have her make her debut in World's Finest. Then I would make a solo Batman movie that would be the setup to BVS and Suicide Squad. Now, in regards to Zack Snyder's Batman, I know he probably already had a solo Batman movie planned out from the get-go with Ben Affleck, and that he was forced to make BVS because of Warner Brothers' stupid decision-making. But the problem with that is we don't exactly get to see what causes Bruce Wayne to lose his way in BVS. I mean, we do, but it's really only shown in a few scenes as an Easter egg, not a flashback. And I honestly would have preferred if Zack Snyder had just shown us flashbacks of Batman's past as opposed to just hinting at it through Easter eggs and references. This solo Batman movie, however, will serve as a huge answer to all of that. As for the casting, I would rather get someone else to play as Bruce Wayne. I know a lot of DC fans like Ben Affleck, I do too, but I would rather just get someone who I feel is more prepped for the role. And I think that John Hamm would be a fantastic choice. Either him or that guy that played as Black Bolt in that superhero show that nobody talks about. As for the Joker, the one thing I would change about David Ayer's Suicide Squad is I would actually have the Joker be portrayed by Jack Napier instead of Jason Todd. Because as much as I respect Zack Snyder and David Ayer for going in a unique route with the character, I personally prefer the accurate route. Just to avoid confusion. Because people are always going to remember Joker best as Jack Napier. And besides, I honestly feel as though we've never really have gotten an accurate portrayal of the character in live action. I mean, the closest that I think we have ever gotten to an accurate Joker on screen was with Jack Nicholson. And Jack Nicholson was great as the Joker. However, I do think though that he should have been established a bit more on screen. Because Tim Burton's Joker was, established as more of a standard villain, like Heath Ledger. I do think that he should have been given a lot more depth and meaning. And we actually got that with Joaquin Phoenix in the Todd Phillips Joker movie. But at this point, I kind of wish that directors would just adapt the true Joker on screen instead of just going for completely new takes. Because like I said, Jack Napier was the Joker that got the most exposure in media. Before you had Jason Todd and Tim Drake, who would all soon take up the Joker mantle, you originally had Jack Napier, who by all accounts is the definitive Joker. I mean, it was only recently that DC started doing the character differently. And so because of that, I would rather go the source material route with Joker in the DCEU. Which means that instead of Jared Leto, I would actually go for an accurate casting choice. Almost in the same caliber as Jack Nicholson. And who I would pick is Willem Dafoe. Based on his performance as Green Goblin in Spider-Man 1 and a lot of movie roles he's been in, he definitely does seem like the best acting choice for Jack Napier's Joker. So therefore, in my own version of the DCEU, Willem Dafoe would be playing two characters. He would not only be playing Arthur Curry's sensei in the Aquaman movie, but he would also be playing as the Joker. And truth be told, I honestly don't know who I would get to play as Jason Todd in this Batman movie. But I am leaning more towards Cameron Gelman, who a lot of you may know best as Our Man from TV's Stargirl. His character on the show is played up as a ruthless vigilante, and that's exactly what Jason Todd's character is in the Batman mythos. A ruthless, vengeful vigilante, who Batman looks up to as a young soldier. And when he loses that young soldier, he becomes that very same character. Also, since they had the older Jason Todd Robin suit displayed in BVS as a constant reminder of Bruce Wayne's past, I think the best way of representing that would be to have Cameron Gelman play as Jason Todd in this Batman movie. Plus, he's pretty much the only guy I know that could actually pull off the boyish Robin look and still look intimidating while he's in combat. He's essentially like Anakin Skywalker in a way. And also, this may be a bit controversial, but I personally think that he would be way better than Karan Walters. But that's just me. Anyway, this Batman movie is essentially about Joker trying to get to Batman, and he actually accomplishes that by killing the one guy who Batman took in under his wing. The only thing I would do differently about Jason Todd's death is instead of having the Joker blow him up, I would go the more realistic route and just have the Joker shoot him multiple times through the back as he's trying to make his escape from the building that he's being held hostage in, and have that be the catalyst for why Batman loses his way in BVS by branding and killing criminals. Also, side note, I would not have Batman knock out Joker's teeth. I would rather Joker keep his original teeth, because getting rid of them and replacing them with grills does kind of contradict the narrative of there actually being a Joker in the DCEU. The title of this Batman movie is Batman Joker's Revenge, and it's going to be directed and produced by Paul Dini. As for BVS, I would just take out all of the extra scenes with Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, and have the movie focus more on the relationship between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, being that they are DC's biggest heavy hitters. And in Justice League, I would essentially have Batman go through the same character growth as Clark Kent in Man of Steel 2 by having him grow into being the Batman we all traditionally know. Not Joss Whedon's Batman, but more along the lines of Paul Dini's Batman. A ruthless and aggressive Batman that does not kill. You see, that's the difference between my DCEU and Zack Snyder's DCEU, is I would make it feel more like Batman needs to overcome the death of his parents. He needs to get over his parents' death and move forward by looking at things through a better lens. Of course, some people may see that as quote-unquote living in a fucking dream world, but I mean, what can I tell you? What can I say? People are always going to remember Batman best as a superhero, and superheroes by nature are usually meant to inspire the best in humanity. And I know that Zack Snyder was trying to give Batman the same emotional depth as Superman, but the reason why the realistic take works for Superman is because there are hardly have ever been any movies in the past, like Man of Steel, that have actually tackled the deeply flawed aspect of Superman's character and managed to build upon it. And Zack Snyder does exactly that. He gives us a Superman that not only represents hope, but the moral flaws that us people face on an everyday basis. But with Batman, it's different. People are always going to remember him best as the hero of Gotham, regardless of whatever famous comic that makes him into a killer for shock value. And I know at this point it may seem like I'm beating a dead horse, but the whole point of Batman's character is that he is supposed to be better than the villains he faces. Otherwise, what would be the point of Batman fighting against injustice if he is injustice? You know, it's things like this that I honestly feel needs to be addressed in Justice League in order to really push Batman further into the hero he needs to be. And being that I am morbidly curious to see what Justice League was really like under Zack Snyder's direction, I would actually let him make this movie, just with a different Flash and a different Batman. Because I truly believe that a dark, realistic take on Justice League is exactly what DC needs to succeed. Especially since their thing is that they want to differentiate themselves from Marvel, then the best way of going about that would be to just let Zack Snyder finish his story. Of course, I would offer up a few enhancements to that story to actually have it make a bit more sense from my perspective, but you know, that's all I would do really, is just offer up a few alternatives of which I think would work best in Snyder's films, as opposed to just outright changing everything and buttering down everything. Same thing could also be said for Patty Jenkins and James Wan. I would let them do their own thing with Wonder Woman and Aquaman, except for David F. Sandberg. I would actually get someone else to direct Shazam. I like David F. Sandberg, but he was not the right directorial choice for the mythological theme. I mean, I honestly would have rather gotten Matthew Vaughn to direct this film. I don't mind having David F. Sandberg on as a writer for this film, but you know, based on his filmography, I think that Matthew Vaughn would have been a far better directorial choice. Just like how I think that John Cena would have been a far better casting choice for the character Shazam. Zachary Levi is a weird casting choice for Shazam for obvious reasons. Not only does he not look the part, but he also doesn't act the part either. Don't get me wrong, Zachary Levi is funny and charming, but that's pretty much all he ever really delivers in the role of Shazam. I honestly felt as though the kind of vibe he was giving off into the role of Shazam didn't really feel 100% on point with the character of Billy Batson. Of course, anyone who knows the character of Shazam knows that he is a kid inside of a man's body. And if you actually go back and watch the film and pay attention to how the way Asher Angel plays off Billy Batson, you'll notice that it's vastly different from how the way Zachary Levi plays off the character. Zachary Levi is all happy and charming in the role, and Asher Angel is not so happy and charming in the role at all. And if anything, is more so a bit angsty in the film than he is happy half of the time. So because of that, I would actually get John Cena to play Shazam. I think you would be able to play off the character of Billy Batson very well, to the point where you wouldn't really have to go over much lines with him. You wouldn't really have to do much work with him in order to get the film done, because in a way, John Cena is essentially Shazam in real life. And whether people want to believe it or not, he has the potential to lead a film. He's done it countless times before, ladies and gentlemen. Get over yourselves. Anyway, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is my own version of the DC Extended Universe in a nutshell. A lot of the decisions I would make are very mixed on the matter, but basically I would just have a lot of the DC characters look and feel exactly the way they're supposed to. And before anyone comes at me with a whole aesthetics argument, yes, I know that looks aren't everything. But at the same time, it's like, come the fuck on, man. If I'm being shown these characters for the first time, I should be able to have some investment in the casting choice, and honestly feel like I get none of that with Zachary Levi. Jesus Christ, I can't even say his name right. That's how much I hate the casting choice. And if any of you have actually liked Levi's Shazam, that's fine. Just know that I'm not really trying to shit on your perspective and say that you are wrong, but rather to let you know what my perspective is. And my perspective of Shazam would have actually been a little bit more accurate compared to what Warner Brothers gave us. And not just with Shazam, but with other characters such as the Flash, Batman, the Joker, and so on and so forth. Anyways, I'm King Bishop. Hope you guys have a blast at DC Fandom, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.